Just the first, good morning everyone. We'll start in about a minute or so for those online. Make a start then, everyone. Okay, I think we'll make a start now. Good morning. Right, good morning everyone. Welcome to this Care and Sport West meeting, which is going to bring together a few of our key speakers today. We're here at the Resound Centre in Mangotsfield in Bristol. I just want a few thumbs up or acknowledgements from people out online there. So welcome to you all there. Could you just give me a thumbs up that you can hear us? Yes, we have. Good, we got one there. Thank you very much indeed. Good. So this is a hybrid meeting, which is always a complex technical achievement. So thank you very much to the team here at the Resound. They've got us online at least, and we can see you all, you can hear us, which is great news. I can see a hand up already. Is that a mistake, or do you think? No, it's gone down again, that's good. Right, so it's an interesting programme today. I'll introduce myself first. Richard Deverson. I'm currently the chair of Care and Sport West. So welcome to those in the room. And if you can see from the camera, we have a few empty seats here, but it's great to see people online who have chosen to join us today as well. So thank you. We will be recording today's session, and so I'm sure if you've all given consent for that, that's great. And the details will go onto the Care and Sport West page at the end of the day today, so you'll be able to see what we've been talking about, and all the presentations will be up there as well. Bit of housekeeping on questions. There is a technical challenge when you're doing these hybrid meetings, so if you are online and the person is in the room presenting, could you put your questions in the chat? Would be the easiest way to do it. I think if we get to the point of people asking questions in that environment, we get the double echo going on. So if you could put the questions in the chat, we'll be watching it carefully and we'll make sure that your question gets answered. If the presenter is online with you, you can actually open up your microphone and ask the question online that way around. We will remind you of that throughout the process so nobody gets confused. I know it's a hybrid meeting and it does come with certain complications. There's no such thing as a silly question, please ask it. It'll be just because 3 other people in the room and in the group will be wanting to ask the same question, but you'll have the courage to do it yourself. So we are now recording. That's great. So we've got a few things in the agenda today. You'll find out all you need to know about apprenticeships. We're having a presentation from the team from Co-Produce Care talking about the redesign of social care workforce programme, and that will include the levy sharing and apprenticeships. There might be a bit of a crossover there, which will be good to see the points of view there. We've got a presentation from the team in London talking about the new Care Find system, which is a spin-off from the capacity tracker, which has not been just a capacity tracker for some years, as we all know. There's lots going on in there. And we'll be talking about the new Level 2 Care Certificate. We've got some commercial partners with us today. We've got Oliver here from Christie & Co. and Peter Cheer from Peter Cheer Consulting. So thank you very much for joining us today. There'll be opportunity to ask them questions, should that be appropriate at any point. So please take a moment, if you're in the room, go and say hello to our commercial partners, and they're willing to answer any questions you may have. And sorry, Annie Army's here as well from Bemlo. I do apologise, Annie. Nice to see you too. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to hand over to Karen, who's going to be running the programme today, and we look forward to an interesting morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning, everybody. Hello to everybody online as well. Thank you for joining us. It's always a little bit disappointing when not so many people turn up, but it's a horrible day today. So for those who haven't joined us or are not able to, you will be able to go online afterwards, as Richard has said, to be able to view it in your own time. So that's the beauty about being able to record. If you want to share it with your colleagues as well. So So, our first speaker today come all the way from Congsbury. Jane has come from the West of England Apprenticeship Services, and is going to tell us all about apprenticeships. Jane, okay.
Hello online, hello in the room. Is there a clicker? Oh, there it is, got it. Don't think that's working, the clicker. Oh, it's on there. Okay, that's fine. Right, really technical I am. Hello everybody, I am Jane Dean. I work for the West of England Apprenticeship Service. Just a little bit about what we do. So my organisation sits under an organisation called the Western Training Provider Network. So that is essentially what it says on the tin. So it's around about 45 training providers. Some of those are further education, some of them are universities, some of them are independent training providers, and they all come together in a safe space to share knowledge, best practice, legislation changes, that sort of thing. So that's our overarching organisation. However, we run a number of programmes. My programme is the West of England Apprenticeship Service, and it's my role to work with SMEs in the WECA region, so that's Bristol, South Gloss and Baines. An SME can be a one-man band, it can be someone up to 200 staff, depending on what their organisation delivers. And my role is to go in and help them navigate the world of apprenticeships. What we're finding with SMEs, regardless of what industry they're working in, is they want to do it, but they just don't know how to start. So that's my role to come in and help support them with that. I come from a very heavy apprenticeship background. So I've worked in apprenticeships for nearly 15 years now. So that's kind of my safe space at the moment. But we also are out and about in schools, sort of spreading the word of apprenticeships, dealing with parents and carers, just sort of try and educate our influencers. And we do the Share to Support, which is our levy share service, which I'll come to in just a bit. We are completely funded by the UK SPF and WECA, so any work that we do with any SME or organisation is free, which is amazing, isn't it? Get that Sorry guys, this is a bit, there we go. So I understand that people's understanding of apprenticeships is pretty strong these days actually. Most people know what an apprenticeship was, but just in case there's someone in the room, I thought I'd do a really quick speedy snapshot of what an apprenticeship is. So from the learner's perspective, it's a real job. It has to be a minimum of 30 hours a week to qualify to do an apprenticeship. They gain a recognised qualification, so that's a vocational industry recognised qualification. They are a standard employee, so that means that whatever you would give your other staff in terms of holiday, HR benefits, disciplinary procedures, that would be the same. And it offers them training and development within their job role. So the idea would be that they would be gaining that vocational practical experience at the same time as building that theoretical knowledge. An apprenticeship can last anywhere from 12 months. If you go right up to degree level, then it can last for 4 years depending. So I have to say there's over 700 apprenticeship standards now. So whatever you are looking for, whatever somebody is looking for, it's there. You know, there will be a standard that meets it. Sorry, I click it and then it jumps through. So I've been asked to look at what the benefits of the apprenticeship is. And if you Google what's the benefit of the apprenticeship, these are the points that are going to come up. So for the organisation, improved productivity, 78% of businesses say that apprentices have improved their productivity overall. I can say that that figure is building and growing with some of the work and the diagnostic work that we've been doing with SMEs. They're reporting a much higher result now. They'll tell you that it's given them an improved service, an increased staff retention, and the apprenticeships can be tailored towards their organisation. So that's what you would get if you Googled that information, and it's all true. But what we've done is we've worked with a lot of the employers over the last couple of years, and we've really drilled that down and got some real life authentic feedback. There we go. Oh, that worked first time. So these are what our employers are actually saying in a way more detailed way. So cost-effective work. So obviously, if you're taking on an apprentice, it becomes an affordable option for that employer. So it allows you to get your staff in at a slightly reduced cost. I would say that the average apprenticeship salary in the Southwest is between £15,000 and £20,000, to give you some sort of idea. The days of paying an apprentice £3.20 are well gone. The minimum wage is £6.40, but we are finding that employers are paying significantly more, and indeed some are paying the living wage, which is fantastic. A smaller employer can get access to government incentives to help support them with the recruitment of apprenticeships. I don't like to go into too much detail with this because we've got a change of government potentially on the horizon, and these incentives can change. But at the moment, some employers can access money for taking on an apprentice if they're between 16 and 18. Our employers are reporting that these apprenticeships are resolving their skills gaps. We all know it's really difficult to recruit at the moment, particularly in your industries. I would imagine it's highly challenging, and there's a real pain point there. Apprenticeships can help resolve that skills gap. They've also said that bringing in apprentices into their business gives a real fresh perspective to the business. So we're getting, Gen Z coming through. They've got fresh ideas. Their motivation levels are quite high. We're finding that when you're taking on young people, and I don't know if anyone either online or in the room would back me up on this, but the thoughts of our younger generation in terms of what they're looking for from a work perspective has changed. And we're finding now that they are reporting that they want to work for an organisation with social value. They want to see continued personal development being an option. They want to see where their career development pathway is. So hence why apprenticeships sort of work really well for that. We found that by a company investing in their staff that way, because apprenticeships, it's worth noting, it isn't just for recruiting in. 64% of all apprenticeships are actually upskills within the organisation. So that might be somebody who's worked with a company for a while and they want to professionalise. It could be that accidental manager that has been doing the job and have found themselves in that job, but they want to get a little bit of theory and a bit of formula behind what they're doing. But so it's quite high, isn't it? 64% are actually over 35 when they start their apprenticeship as part of the upskill. So interesting data. So we're finding that it's enhancing loyalty among the staff. People feel that their companies are investing in them, and that goes a long way. I've mentioned career development, but obviously any organisation who's offering career development is going to be seen to be a good choice. And we're getting feedback from employers that taking on apprentices, allowing them to forecast for the future, to look at succession planning way more easy, I should say, than before. So that's a really positive thing. We find that the young people that are coming into the business are bringing with them the latest techniques in terms of IT. I don't know about you guys, I'm absolutely horrendous and rubbish, and I go to my apprentice every 5 minutes. Can you do this? Can you do this? Because I don't know. But they come with that knowledge, which is a huge benefit for me, particularly my generation. And we're also finding that employers who take on apprentices, it does improve their overall reputation within the industry. They are seen to be someone offering value to their workers. And by taking on an apprentice, obviously you're training them within the skills gaps that you've got, within those job roles that you've got, so therefore offering like real versatility. going to click on. Sorry guys, it's stuck again. So apprenticeships in your business, like how you can access it, what you can do about that. So you could recruit in an apprentice, obviously fresh. You could take in a school leaver, a college leaver, somebody who wants a career change. Oh. There we go. You can retain your staff. So you can retain your staff by offering them CPD. You can retain them by offering that continued development. And it will diversify your workforce. No, I've lost it on the screen. Sorry, I can't get, I've lost it on the screen. Oh, there we go, okay. Sorry. See, where's my apprentice when I need them? How can we help you? So what I do at the West of England Apprenticeship Service is I would start the journey with a consultation call, find out a little bit about your business, find out about where your skills gaps are, where your pain points are, and match you to the standards that you would benefit from within your business. I will go away, I will research your options for you, I will find you training providers that will best suit your business, and will sort of coach any sort of line managers in terms of what's required when you take on an apprentice. I'll put all of that into a nice, tidy apprenticeship development plan, and then we'll set you up for your success. Who pays for the apprenticeship? So just in case anyone doesn't know, there is a cost attached to every apprenticeship. The government very kindly contributes 95% of that, which leaves a 5% employer charge, an employer contribution. I don't want to go too much into the levy because I know the people after me are talking about it, so I don't want to cross over. But just to let you know that we can organise for one of our large levy employers to fully fund 100% of the cost of that apprenticeship. So therefore saving you that 5% employer. That service is called the Share to Support service. We work with over 25 large levy payers. They are people like University of Bristol, University of Bath, UWE, TUI, Matalan, Ordnance Survey, the list goes on. These are massive companies who have huge levy pots sat there ready to spend on apprenticeships. And what's happening is that they're not spending it all. So rather than that money going back to the Treasury, which we don't want to do, we want to keep it in the region. They are happy to gift proportions of their levy to pay for an SME's apprenticeship. So it's a no-brainer. That's called the Share to Support scheme. It's delivered by us. It's completely funded by UKSPF and WECA. Explained all of that, and I don't want to go into too much because I saw that someone's speaking about levy. We've already worked with £3 million and 397 apprenticeships in the local region now have already just been funded by some of our large levy payers. So it's a brilliant service. And that's it. We're here to support. It's a complicated business, apprenticeships. It's very multi-layered, but there is a solution to everybody's recruitment or upskilling needs or their funding needs. So please do come and see me if anyone's got any questions. I'm going to be here for the rest of the morning, and I'm really happy to work with anybody. No question too small, as you said, and no company too small, no company too big. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Jane. That's really good. Apprenticeships are fabulous, aren't they? And they're becoming more and more recognised, more useful. And in social care, we don't seem to have a number of people that that there are so many roles. It doesn't have to be a carer. In a home, or you've got maintenance people, you've got chefs, and all these people can take apprenticeships, can't they? And it, yeah. It's a fabulous it's a fabulous way of introducing people to social care world, basically. Younger people who really don't really know what's going on in the social care world. So our next speaker is just arriving, I believe. So I'm going to give an opportunity to Peter to come to the floor. Peter Cheer, if you'd like to come to Peter's, he's going to ask for your help. Jen is running, so we'll tell her not to run. Emily, I don't know whether you'll be able to pull the QR code up for Peter, but Peter, I'm going to give you the floor. We're going to do this at the very end, but to give Jen some time, we'll we'll let Peter take 5 minutes. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you.
Great, thanks, Cameron. Which is great to be able to have a couple of minutes with you this morning. So I'm Peter Cheer. I'm one of the commercial partners, and I work as an independent consultant for Associations, council associations, quite a wide range of pieces of work. But I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about something I'm doing or involved with as an associate consultant at the Institute of Public Care, which is part of Oxford University, and it does consultancy, training, evaluation, some research with councils, sector, private sector, charities, etc. And it's arising really from some work we did last year on safeguarding adult reviews. I don't know how many of you are kind of aware or see safeguarding adult reviews, but in summary, they are reports that are commissioned by local authorities when someone has died or has been seriously abused or neglected, and there's concern about how the safeguarding partners work together to safeguard the adult. And there are 200 or 300 of these reviews completed every year across the country, across England, and they tend to cover quite a wide range of issues. I mean, sometimes it's something that's gone wrong in a service or between services, unsafe discharge. Sometimes it's where someone's been abused by a family member, and the question is, could the authorities have done more to support the person? And then sometimes it's where someone's got really complicated needs, and it's just been very difficult to know exactly how to support them in the best way. And there's an awful lot of material in these reviews. At the moment, there's no real process to share that learning with care providers. So last year, we did an informal piece of work which involved looking at 60 safeguarding adult reviews, and what we found was that over half of those concerned people who had had a care service at some point during the period. And we wrote a report which is just a nice short 10-page report summarising some of the issues. And I've been talking with Karen about doing a webinar on that for Care and Support West in July, so watch this space if you're interested in that. But one of the things that came from that was that the biggest issue, the most common form of abuse, was self-neglect, and this is reinforced really by national analysis of all safeguarding adult reviews, and there's one which is reporting quite shortly, which has looked at every safeguarding adult review over the last 3 years, and that's found that 60% of these reviews concern people who self-neglected. And it is, again, that's a kind of really wide-ranging topic. Some of them are people who may have lived in care homes, people who were refusing medication, who didn't want wounds to be dressed, people who were insistent on sleeping on the floor or in an armchair rather than on a safer mattress. A lot of people living at home in their own accommodation. Often people had maybe home care, domiciliary care support. Again, people who were declining, not taking the medication, who didn't want their wounds to be dressed, people who were not attending to their personal care. Really distressing and tragic, accounts of people who spent their last months of their lives just not moving off the sofa. They were being incontinent, they weren't doing the personal care, they were declining support from the care services. And I suppose the point really was there's been quite a lot of focus on self-neglect over the last few years, but from our observations, most of that is looking at practice from the point of view of social workers, care management teams, NHS and others. And there's not really very much focus on what it feels like for social care workers to be working with these people with just really complicated, difficult needs. And often, for example, if you read safeguarding adult reviews, it talks about the fact that the person may have had a care service, but doesn't really say very much about it, hasn't sought the perspectives of the care staff who are working often in very difficult, challenging situations. And you may have someone who, is very difficult to engage with. Everyone would say they need more time to engage with them, but then the home care worker has still only got their only standard half an hour, and they're expected to engage with the person, encourage them to have personal care, which they may not really want for personal care. It's just a difficult situation, and it feels like there's not a great deal of support or guidance out there for people. So what we're doing at Institute of Public Care is looking at the possibility of seeking funding for some research in this area, particularly looking at self-neglect from the point of view of care services, which could be something very small, a small informal piece of work, which we do over a few months, just working with a few care services, seeing what has worked, seeing what the challenges have been, seeing what might have helped. Or it could be a much larger, bigger, formal piece of research over maybe 2 or 3 years, which would be a much bigger piece of work altogether. So we're just kind of looking at the options to where we might be able to find some funding for this at the moment. But in the meantime, I suppose what we're just trying to do is do a bit of straw polls, get some feedback from care providers in different settings across the country as to, has that been an issue for you? If it has it been a challenge, or has it been something you just kind of managed quite straightforwardly? And what would help in that situation? So we've done a very, very short survey, and there's, I'm not sure if it's on the screen, but there's a QR code. There's some copies on a piece of paper around the table. Hopefully, if you haven't got it online, you'll have it at some point. And if you're able to scan the code and just go into that and answer, I think it's just 3 or 4 questions. It's literally going to be 5 minutes during the course of a break or whatever this morning. That would be really helpful, just in terms of gauging, is this an issue that, from the care provider perspective, it would be good if we could take forward, and if so, what are the kind of issues we should look at. So that's me. It's just 5 minutes. If anyone in the room can't get the code to work or whatever, I have got a few written copies of the questions at the back, so do come and find me. And if anyone would be interested in being involved in the research, then do come and have a chat, because we would want to take it forward in partnership with a number of care providers. So, brilliant. Thanks so much indeed.
Thank you, Peter. And for those people who are joining us online, I don't know if you can see the QR code, but if you can have a go at doing it, that would be great. And whilst we're waiting, Jen is now in the building. Jen, if you'd like to come and take the floor, please. I'd like to introduce Jen Firth, who's going to tell you about a programme that she's working on in the form of helping social care redesign.
Redesign, yeah.
Okay,
Thanks. Sorry. I don't know. Okay. Great, thanks. Oh, great, thank you. Thanks. Have I got the microphone completely obscuring me? Is it? Okay. Thanks. Okay, thank you for inviting us to your event this morning. My name is Jen Firth, and I work for Co-Produce Care. Some of you will know Sophie in her role at Manor Community. I'm working with Sophie at Co-Produce Care, which is a community interest company, and there we are looking to research and look at the policy and funding and projects that are impacting social care, and looking at the impact on the sector locally. We look to co-produce our research, so we want to bring in the voices of those in the sector to hear from them what they feel the pressures or challenges are. And we believe that collaboration and innovation are vital for transforming social care. Through these projects, we aim to contribute to efficient and compassionate system. And as part of that, currently we are working on some research projects for Care and Support West under the umbrella Social Care Workforce Redesign Project, and that consists of 3 projects. The first one, which we've recently delivered on, was a Trusted Assessor project that looked at the way trusted assessors are used in the discharge process to reduce delays to discharge for people who are medically fit to be discharged on one of the pathways. We're working on a Caring Together project, which has been over a longer period, over the last year, which is looking at how health and social care can work collaboratively to improve outcomes, what systems are in place to help people work collaboratively, and hopefully make some recommendations going forward. And the project that I'm currently working on and what I'd like to talk to you about today is the Apprenticeship and Levy Transfer project. So the Apprenticeship and Levy Transfer project is looking at how care providers could be benefiting from using apprenticeships. So what we want to find out with the project is whether there are any barriers or challenges to using apprenticeships for social care and locally, and how to address these to increase the use of apprenticeships. Oops, we've gone too far. And then the second part of the project is to look at how care providers locally could be tapping into levy transfer and benefiting from that funding, and whether benefiting from that funding will increase the use of apprenticeships. And so hopefully, you know, there'll be more opportunities for levy funding as well, using levy funding as well. So what have we found out so far? So in the research that we've looked at so far, we've been looking nationally at how apprenticeships are perceived. Apprenticeships have changed quite considerably since I was at school, since I left school, when they've virtually become extinct. Now they're available for anybody of any age across a variety or levels of education. So from level 2, sort of GCSE level, right up to masters. So we've been looking nationally. So on this side of the slide, you'll see this is what employers are finding with apprenticeships. So some of them are find that the 20% off the job training is a barrier to using apprenticeships, that finding that they can't find suitable candidates, and that in actual fact most businesses want a range of training, like in-house training, not just apprenticeships. From the would-be apprentice, there's still some associated stigma attached to apprenticeships. When questioned, they found that there was a lack of local apprenticeships available, and you know that they couldn't travel, and then there's a lack of apprenticeships related to the career path that they wanted to go down. So that's what's going on nationally. But obviously there are benefits from using apprenticeships. So the government's done some research and it's found that it can improve job satisfaction, can improve recruitment and retention, can bring young people into your sector. There is a financial gain for business. They found that between £2,500 and £18,000 yearly gain per apprentice. And there is funding available to do these apprenticeships. So what we want to find out next is what's going on locally and whether care providers are using apprenticeships, and what you think about the apprenticeships that are available, whether they're fit for purpose, are the standards available that you need within your business. Is the 20% off the job training a barrier for you doing apprenticeships? Are there challenges, other challenges, and how are you funding your apprenticeships? So one of the ways to fund apprenticeships is through using levy transfer. There are other ways of getting funding for apprenticeships. Obviously, if you're a non-levy payer, you can pay 95% of the government will pay 95% of the funding for an apprentice, and then you need to find the other 5%. I'm not sure what you know about apprenticeship levies, but I think it was in 2017 the government introduced this idea of large businesses, those that have got a pay bill over £3 million a year, pay 0.5% their monthly payroll into a fund, and that fund was to be used to fund apprenticeships and only apprenticeships. So this goes into the digital levy fund. Some of the money will go to, or all of it should be going to pay for apprenticeships, and then any that's not used will eventually go back to the Treasury. So the money goes in monthly, and then it sits in that pot for 24 months, and then it expires. So it's kind of like a rolling total. And then they decided that actually this money could be transferred to the companies that are non-levy paying, and so that money should be transferred to fund their apprenticeships. Recently, just this month, the government's upped that to 50%. So 50% of any of that levy that they haven't been able to use, they can now transfer to another organisation, another business, to fund their apprenticeship. So again, there's some negatives and positives that we found nationally in response to levy transfer. Businesses find it inflexible and complex. Some people argue that it's reduced the number of new starts, and that they argue that in actual fact it's paying for people to do MBAs rather than level 2 apprenticeships. And obviously it takes away money that could be in your training budget for other types of training. But the positives, it's obviously that small to medium-sized businesses can be benefiting from this money to fund their apprenticeships. So that's what's going on nationally. What we want to find out locally is, are you using the levy to fund your apprenticeships? Will that funding have an impact on whether you use apprenticeships? And are you able to find the information you need in order to get this funding? So that's why we come with an ask, and we would love it if you could complete our questionnaire that will inform our project going forward, and let us know what you think of apprenticeships and how you're using them. And then we can take that information forward to make some recommendations. So thanks for listening. And if you want to contact us directly, talk more to me about the projects, or to Sophie, then those are our contact details, and you can see the other projects that we're working on our website. But thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you also to Jane. So you've heard a little bit about apprenticeships and how you can fund them and where to get information from if you would like more information. This is where our technical expertise comes in. We've now got Alex waiting on the floor, waiting virtually on the floor, waiting to join and do a presentation. So fingers crossed, we're going to be able to connect him through.
Brilliant, thank you.
How's it looking? I know he's there. I've let him into the room. So
Is that pulling through?
okay.
See it on the screen, yeah.
Can you see it on the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Karen, can you see it on your screen?
Richard, can Alex hear us? Can he?
I can hear you, yeah.
I think I can see him on the screen.
Can you see the
Task is to get Alex up onto the. He's definitely there. I know he's there. He's waiting patiently, aren't you, Alex?
That's right.
Yeah. Emily, would it be to do with this screen here? See, we're not IT expert, are we? We work in care, don't we? He's moved away. Can you say anything, Alex? All right. Alex, whilst we're sorting the technical, can you give us 5 minutes? I've got somebody here on the floor who would like to do a very quick hello to everybody while we're sorting out the technical. Are you okay with that, Alex?
Yeah, of course. I was going to say, if you
see you.
If it's easier,
can you hear me, Alex?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Talking. I can't hear you, Alex. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
Ole, would you like to come to the floor and just tell everybody a little bit about Bemlo? Thank you.
Hi, morning everyone. I'll keep this brief whilst Alex is getting his slides up. So I work for Bemlo. A few of you will have heard me speak before. What we're doing is trying to set up a collaborative staff bank in social care across kind of the area covered by Kent West, so Bristol, South Gloucester, that sort of region. The aim being that we want different local care providers in the same sort of area to work towards sharing their staff. So in times when one provider might have a little bit extra capacity that another provider could use, we have a seamless way of allowing them to pick up on that and use those staff so that we have good coverage in terms of workforce across a given area without having to resort to agency, which has been happening so far. So we've had great success with the 3 providers that we're working with at the moment, and Cairn Support West does have a pool of money available if anyone else would like to pilot the software. So it is a tech-based solution. It's simply a software that allows managers to put shifts online, and all of their staff, as well as, and eventually other staff in the local area, can see shifts and apply to work for them. So what we've done so far has mainly been internally with providers who have multiple sites. What we've seen is that a lot of people have been willing to move between locations to work outside their normal place of work. And the feedback we've been getting, beyond kind of the additional money that people can get into their pockets and additional flexibility, people are really taking on board the opportunity to develop new skills, to work with new teams, to explore different areas of social care. And we've seen real enhancement in kind of the satisfaction that the care staff are getting from their work. So really exciting project. And like I said, Cairn Support West do have some funding available so that we can get as many providers who are interested to pilot this and see if they can see some benefit to their fill rates from the system. So if you'd like to hear some more about this, I will provide my email so that can be sent out. And yeah, I hope to get some people sending in messages and speaking to more providers. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
That was lovely. Thank you for filling If for our friends who are online, if you'd like to put your email into the chat, we will get information to you from Ole, and we'll share Ole's information as well. Okay, so we are, I understand, good for go with Alex. Alex, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely brilliant.
Hey.
Oh, got a little bit of feedback going on.
Great. Okie doke. As long as it's not echoing and it's clear, then happy days. Morning, everyone. My name's Alex. I'm the Capacity Tracker Regional Lead for the South West and Midlands. And I've got my colleague Stephen, who'll be kind of sort of supporting during the session. I've been kindly asked by Karen and David to join today's session to give you a bit of an overview of the CareFind system. Now, if we do have any care home colleagues that are on the call today, I'm sure you would have probably received a couple of emails from sort of the Capacity Tracker team just to kind of promote the new feature, the new system. For any home care colleagues that are on the call today, this site is essentially going to be launched in different phases. So phase 1 is very much dedicated for care homes, and then phase 2 will be for home care. So it probably won't add like maximum value to you during this particular session, but there's going to be elements of this that could prove useful for further down the line in terms of sort of understanding the rationale behind the concept, etc. So without further ado, let's do a deep dive. So the idea of today's session is to kind of give you clarity in terms of what CareFind is. What is it? What's it here to do? What's the rationale behind sort of the product, and concept? It's to kind of reassure you of the engagement work that's taken place within the sector. It's to kind of give you a update in terms of latest position, when are we looking to launch, etc. We'll then be spending more time on the how to do the update, how quick and easy it is, and just be giving a quick system demo as well. And then towards the end, we'll be also highlighting the available support that's around on the back of this session. If you do have any comments or questions, please do leave them for the end, because it's very likely that we'll be addressing those throughout the session. And obviously, if you've got any questions on the back of this that you can't think of at the moment, do link in with Karen, and we'll be able to address those offline later on as well for you. For anyone that's aware as well, we will be sharing a copy of the presentation slides with you, either virtually or through another way on the back of this. So you should be getting a copy of this as well. So what is CareFind? Essentially, CareFind has been developed primarily by Nex, who are the owners and managers of the Capacity Tracker, and that's with the support of Department of Health and Social Care and NHS England. Essentially, it's a new public-facing website that's currently available to care home providers to promote their services to the public for free. It's going to be free on a permanent basis. And we're fully aware that there is other sort of similar platforms out there in the market. But hopefully by the end of the session, you'll understand the sort of the USPs and the sort of the rationale behind the launch of this site. So the way it's going to support care homes, which we'll flesh out in the next slide in a lot more detail, primarily it's a free give back to providers who update the Capacity Tracker. And the idea here is to kind of generate further business and a long-term sustainability. It also helps and supports the other key stakeholders within the sector, predominantly Department of Health and Social Care and NHS England. And it helps them with sort of the Care Data Matters roadmap strategy and sort of the Secretary of State's technology vision. Long story short, if you're not aware of it, it's their vision of improving the data collection within the sector over the next sort of 10 years or so. And it's all about sort of bridging gaps in information voids, digitizing data, reducing burden on providers, reducing duplication. But most importantly, where this fits in, it's all about kind of facilitating access to timely information for care seekers and members of the public about care, and just improving the overall sort of experience for patients and families. The idea about CareFind as well is it supports the self-funder market as well. Based on some of the research that we've done, a large proportion of those needing care fund their own care. So the appetite is there, and it also supports local authorities and charities in terms of any sort of self-funder inquiries where they can signpost onto the system. We are looking to launch the platform and system on the 19th of June. The launch date has been postponed a couple of times, and the main reason for this is to ensure we've got the volume of providers onboarded on the system. It is an opt-in service. So there's no obligation to do this. It is voluntary, but the whole idea here is to kind of promote the opportunity there that's available for you. That's available for free. The reason why we've kind of postponed the launch date is, to have the volume, to have some of the bigger brands on there, to have equal uptake across all the NHS regions across England, but also to ensure that providers do have time to get onboarded. We're fully aware that providers are super busy as it is, so we've been quite diligent in our approach and quite flexible in terms of the launch date, but we are looking to launch on the 19th, so watch this space. And the whole idea here is to give to open the door and give opportunity to as many care homes across England as possible, free of charge, but also this is also going to be free for members of the public as well. So the provider benefits. So we talked about the first element, which is it's a free give back to providers. The other bit that's really been really helpful to providers is you're very much in control of what information you display on CareFind. So we wouldn't be displaying anything that you don't feel comfortable with. So the power is essentially in your hands, things like pricing, etc. And I'll talk more about that when we go through sort of the demo. It's really straightforward and quick to update. We've had a lot of feedback from providers and care provider groups to make the process as simple as possible. It's even if you're not sort of very tech savvy as such, there's lots of AI support built in the background. There's a lot of things that are auto-populated or auto-generated. The main idea of the doing the updates involves a yes/no toggle button, which is really straightforward and doable, and that's the key thing here. The way this works initially is if you've not heard about CareFind, the initial sort of reaction would be, oh my God, there's another system that I need to update. What a nightmare. I'm going to duplicate. And that's a misconception. The whole idea here is how CareFind works is it's information from CQC, information that you input on the capacity tracker, as well as any sort of complementary information that you want to include that then will feed into the CareFind system. So there's no duplication here. So if you're updating and maintaining your information on the capacity tracker, your listings will be automatically promoted on CareFind. So you're kind of doing two things in one go. It's supposed to be a one-time input. So essentially you'd be kind of completing what we call a CareFind public profile. And it's and obviously if you've suddenly won some awards, you've launched a new website, let's say, then you might feel actually it would be beneficial to kind of include that and do a further update, let's say. So it's up to you how often you want to update. It's supposed to be a one-time input, and then it's up to you if you want to do any further updates yourselves. Now, the idea here about CareFind is that you are promoting your services to members of the public and self-funders. And the intention is for health and social care teams to still be using the capacity tracker to source placements. So they'll still be using the capacity tracker to do that. There is a lot of information on the capacity tracker that's commercially sensitive, and we need to be diligent in terms of what information feeds into CareFind. So things like the number of vacancies or your occupancy rates and things like that will not be feeding into CareFind. Okay, so that won't be made available to the public or competitors. That information will only be available to health and social care teams on the capacity tracker. So just kind of highlighting that element. So it's all about promoting the good side of your homes and services, but also being diligent in terms of what information is displayed to the public. Okay, and we talked about the technological support at the bottom there. So in terms of the engagement that's taken place within the sector, it's been quite extensive. So I'm going to try and keep it high level for this particular slide. So on the back of summer last year, going all the way up to sort of New Year's, there's been a combination of focus groups, interviews, surveys and workshops, you name it. There's been a lot of involvement from sort of strategically from top level governance groups. So it's your OCAB, which is your Operational Change Advisory Board, and your Provider Data Advisory Group. So that's people from the Care Association Alliance and National Care Forum. So you've got provider representatives on a national level that are kind of contributing heavily and are heavily involved in that process. You had national ADAS, LGA, NHSE, DHSE leads who've also contributed in that. We've also operationally been linking in with care provider association groups across the regions, across the country, and also care providers themselves who've also kind of contributed from an operational perspective to see the benefits, contributing to further refinements in terms of making the product as good as it can be. And we've also linked in with our provider reference groups as well. So we've had about 100 or so providers who we kind of used during sort of the testing phase of, or the piloting of the product to get feedback in terms of how easy it is to update and how doable it is, and doing some final refinements before kind of launching this nationally. We've done a lot of engagement work with local authorities and ICBs, but also members of the public to find out through surveys what they considered most important when they were searching for care, etc. So there's been a lot of involvement within the sector. So hopefully that gives you that bit of reassurance. As I alluded to previously, the Care Find will be launched in a couple of different phases. Phase 1 is very much dedicated for care homes, and then phase 2 will be for home care providers. So if you've got home care colleagues that are on the call today, you know, this will benefit you in the long term as well. And that will also coincide with sort of the refinement of questions on the tracker to make sure it adds as much value to end users as possible. And then phase 3 will be some of the bigger refinements that are in the pipeline. Having said that, there will be some refinements throughout these phases. So, for example, we're looking to build in some analytics into the system as well. So from a care home business perspective, it will be useful to see how many views and you've had that particular week, how that's changed across a number of weeks. So you can see the trends, etc. So again, that could support your business. So we're looking to build in some analytics on that. We've had some suggestions about doing it similar to TripAdvisor. So some care homes said, can we have some ratings or people being able to comment? Although we've kind of parked that thought for now, what we want to make sure that we're displaying the positive elements of each care home. If there is a negative comment, let's say, who's there to police it? And with the sheer volume of providers that kind of opted into this, is this the best thing to do? There's a lot of risk associated to that, so we kind of parked that thought for now. But there's a few care homes that have kind of shown interest to that. There's a couple of other things that we're looking to build into the system as well, things like being able to promote your care home, not just through photos, but through videos, kind of doing a tour of the home, etc. So there's some exciting stuff that are in the pipeline in the background as we speak. Okie doke. So all the sort of engagement work took place all the way sort of up to sort of New Year's, and then since January this year, we've started to promote this nationally to all care homes as part of phase 1 to kind of go, here's the opportunity. And obviously colleagues would have been receiving a couple of emails in relation to this. Obviously fully aware there's a lot of care homes that are on the call today that have opted in and kind of completed their profiles, and it's an opportunity to kind of highlight the benefits here to other colleagues on the call. Okie doke. So Care Find, what you'll notice here is the logo is very similar to the capacity tracker, because there is a direct linkage to it essentially. The strapline is finding care made easy. One of the rationales behind the development of Care Find is to minimise the risk of the public registering on the capacity tracker, which contains that commercially sensitive information. And one way to mitigate that is through the creation of the Care Find system. As I alluded to previously, the way Care Find works is a lot of the information is held in the capacity tracker. It's powered by the capacity tracker, and then it's shared onto Care Find automatically. So essentially there's 3 sources of information that feeds into Care Find. It's the automated information that we get from CQC, so things like the registered bed capacity, so the size of the home, the specialisms, all that sort of stuff. From a capacity tracker perspective, which you're kind of updating as we speak, it's things about whether you offer sort of short-term, short stay step-down services, long-term vacancy types, the types of care, basic facilities, all that sort of stuff will be kind of pulling through from that. And then it's the complementary information that you would include, and all of that will then feed into the Care Find system via the capacity tracker. Okay. A common question that we get is, do I need to complete everything? The answer is no. It's up to you in terms of how much you want to kind of complete as part of your profile. But there is some sections that are sort of mandatory. So things like having at least one main image uploaded and having some contact details, which is obviously critical. The way this works is when the website does launch, when we go live with the system, if a member of the public has got their eyes set on your particular care home, they will be completing a contact form, and then you'll be notified via email, let's say. So it's very important that contact details are up to date in order for this to work. Okay, I'm going to keep this slide very brief. So a common question that we get is, what sort of comms and engagement is going to take place. So we've got a plan, we've got a strategy in place, and we've got a team that's kind of leading on that. So it's ready upon when we go live with the system. I do believe we'll be setting out some comms before the launch date, just to advise providers that we are going to launch. So you get some sort of a notification, just a bit of a reminder in case you want to do any sort of last minute changes and clicking ready to publish. The other thing that I just wanted to highlight from this particular slide, a common question that we've been getting from the Southwest colleagues as well, is what happens as a care home? What happens if I don't have any vacancies now? Now, providing you meet the criteria to appear, I think there's some spelling there, your location will still be displayed on CareFind. So if you don't have any vacancies as we speak, your information will still be appearing on CareFind, because essentially members of the public may want to kind of inquire about your services or waiting lists. So again, you're kind of not missing out on that front or sort of future opportunities, and that's important. So some of the feedback that we've had from providers, we do need to remember that there's different types of care homes and different types of sort of services, size of homes, the way homes operate. Some might be independent, some might be part of bigger sort of brands and parent organisations, etc. So let's just look at the two on the right hand side. So we've got Lisa here, who's a registered manager for a care home. They're not advertising at the moment anywhere, so CareFind proves to be an ideal opportunity for them to kind of advertise their home to the public. Chrissy Guest, on the other hand, has used other similar platforms over the years, but is very impressed with CareFind. Loves how the information is highlighted, loves how some of the information is pre-populated, and has found it really helpful. So the feedback that we've been getting from providers has been really positive, and care provider groups have found it, as they basically said, it's a no-brainer. So it is really, really positive. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a demo of the system, and it's going to be split into two elements. The first part is going to be about the how to update, and we're going to keep it really high level. And then the second element is going to be about how the CareFind website is going to look like upon launch. So where to go to update? So the first question is, where do you go to do the updates on the capacity tracker? So when you go into the home page on the capacity tracker, there is usually like a drop down menu at the very top. So, you could go in there to go into your profile to do the updates, or if you prefer, on the home page at the very, very bottom, we've added a dedicated CareFind tile where you can go in to select update your profile. So either way, it's up to you which way you want to go to do the updates. If you've gone through the profile, if you click the tile, this will take you to this screen. If you've kind of done and accessed it through the drop-down menu at the very top, you will then get into this profile where you'll see a list of your care homes, and then you've got a dedicated CareFind public profile section to complete. It doesn't really matter what you select, because ultimately it will take you to this screen. Now, as a care home, if you've been updating capacity tracker, you would normally be updating information in sort of the provider update tab. That's your go-to, where you update your sort of operational information, things like bed availability, workforce capacity, vaccination uptake, etc. So it's the tab at the very, very end on the right, which is called public profile or CareFind profile, where you would go in to sort of update the elements that you want to include in the CareFind system, essentially. So what you'll see here is there is a couple of different sections. So you've got triangles here, or you've got the ability to kind of expand and collapse each section. And once you've kind of completed each section, you can click save, and then you move on to the next section. Once you're happy with everything, what you can do is you can click preview, So you can just see the layout. Are you happy with it? Is there any spelling mistakes? All that sort of stuff. And once you're happy, you then click publish, and then that will then feed into CareFind upon launch date. Okay, you do have the ability to if you've kind of forgotten something, you can click ready to unpublish, add something else, click save, and then publish again. So it's really flexible. It's up to you how you want to kind of manage that. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go through some of the sections just to kind of give you a bit of a flavour of what sort of information to expect and how easy it is, how doable it is to complete. The first section is the key information section, which is your contact details that will automatically pull through from the capacity tracker. So it just gives you the opportunity to review that and update that where it's needed. And then you've got the ownership type. So again, if you do multiple, if you're sort of a voluntary sort of home, or if you're sort of privately owned, etc., you can kind of include that in, and any sort of funding sources that you accept. It could be a combination of things, let's say, so self-funders and maybe local authority where applicable. So again, you just select yeses where it's needed, and that's the key information. So a lot of that is auto-populated, so it's just kind of reviewing and double checking it's correct. Moving on to the next section, which is images. You can upload up to 8 images. It could be 40 megabytes. So it's quite generous in terms of size and quality of the photos. As part of this section, you need to at least have one main image in order to appear on CareFind, but you can upload up to 8 images. What you'll see is, I'm not sure if you can see it on your screens, but you'll see a description at the top of each image, essentially. So for example, outside view of the home, garden, bedroom, etc. So ideally, when you do upload a photo, within that tile, it needs to kind of mirror the description of that particular tile. Okay, but you do have some optional additional tiles that you can add some extra photos should you want to do so. Okay, but the main thing to take away here is you can upload up to 8, but you need to have at least one in order to appear on CareFind. And actually, whilst we're on that particular slide, it's worth just kind of giving you some top tips. So as a care home organisation, if you're part of some bigger brands or parent organisations, what we've done with some of these organisations is we've kind of shared lessons learned and best practice. And what we found is, especially if you're part of some bigger brands, let's say, some of the marketing comms leads, some of the sort of directors, what they've decided to do is they've kind of done the uploading of images and sort of linking in some of the social media links, and then the registered managers have done the rest, let's say. So, it doesn't all have to sit with you. So if you are part of a bigger organization, have that discussion with your marketing comms leads. They can take away some of that burden from you if that's something that you want to consider. And that's worked really well across a lot of the big organizations where we've had those discussions. Okay. So moving on to the next section, which is costs and vacancies. So costs and vacancies. So again, as I said, one of the benefits of CareFind is we wouldn't be displaying anything without your consent, and that's also for costs and vacancies. So we will ask the question: do you want to show this? Yes, no. Okay. So the power is in your hands. Now, having said that, we do encourage. So in that blue box, you have some hyperlinks, some information about the CMA obligations. So we do try and encourage the information to be displayed where possible. And what you can do with CareFind is for the different bed types, whether it's long-term or short stay, you can actually give a price range from and to, so you can give that range. You can have the same amount from and to should you want to do so, and you can be quite flexible with the numbers, but gives you the opportunity to kind of display a range. Because we are on the capacity tracker at the moment, there is just an approximate, and we're fully aware that individuals' requirements and needs are different. So again, you've got the ability to give a range. The next element is types of care. So it seems like a lot, but ultimately it's just selecting yeses against the bits that you do as a care home in terms of types of care. Do you do bariatric? Do you kind of specialize in sort of speech impairment, etc.? So it's just kind of selecting the types of care that you do offer and that you want to promote on CareFind. The next bit is the social media links that I alluded to. So again, you can include a website link to your own websites. You can add sort of social media URL links. So again, if that's something you're interested in, just select yes, copy and paste in your sort of URL link, and then click save. And again, as I alluded to, that could actually sit with your marketing comms leads to help you with that. Then it's things like care and facilities, within the home, outside of the home, etc. So again, just selecting yeses where appropriate. You then got things like accessibility, parking, sort of the logistical stuff. So you just select yeses against where it's needed. And then things like leisure and well-being. Do you have an activity coordinators and that sort of thing? That could be quite important for individuals. So again, you just select yeses against this where it's appropriate. Getting there now. So then it's the room facility. So again, it's just highlighting the services that you provide that you want displayed on CareFind. And then once you're happy with that, you move on to the next section. And a lot of the elements, a lot of the features that have been built into the CareFind in terms of the drop-down options, etc., is very much based on the feedback that we've had from care homes. Care homes kind of wanted some of these elements included in, so we kind of incorporated that into the profiles. And ultimately, it's down to you whether you want to kind of include that. Again, it's up to you. Now, there's been some care homes that have been really passionate about having sort of the energy efficiency ratings on there. If that's something you want to be included in there, you can do, and you can kind of click the arrow key up and down. If that's something that you don't want to display, then you just select no. Again, I know that's kind of an optional feature. Just below that, you've got things like awards and accomplishments. So again, in order to make your home stand out, it's a really good idea to kind of highlight that, flesh that out. So again, pop those in to help with that. And the final screen that I just want to go through is in the area. So this is very much based on the Google Maps algorithm. So again, you just select yeses in terms of what you feel you want to kind of include within your profile. So again, I do kind of question the bit about the bar. I'm not sure what value that brings, unless you're having a tricky day. But you've got things like dentists, doctors, hospitals, parks, bus stations, that sort of thing. That could be quite useful from a logistical sense. So again, you just select yeses in terms of what you want to include within your profile. And then the final thing, last but not least, is the About Us section. So you have up to 5,000 characters, and you do have the ability to paste information from your websites, from the CQC website, let's say. But the really clever thing about this as well is, rather than reinventing the wheel and starting from scratch, you can click auto-generate details, and based on previous inputs, that will auto-generate the text for you, and then you can tweak it should you need to. So you don't need to kind of reinvent the wheel. There's that AI support there where it can auto-generate that text for you. Okay, so that's how you do the update. Seems like a lot, but honestly, it's pretty quick and easy. A lot of it just involves yes/no toggles. So how is the system going to look like when we do launch it? So do want to highlight that things might be slightly tweaked between now and launch date, because our development teams are constantly working through the systems and developing the site. But as we stand today, this is how this system is going to look like. So when you go into the system, when members of the public or care seekers are going into the system, or people that are sort of next of kin or power of attorney, let's say, they can go into the website here. So there is a search bar, so you can search by postcode, by city, by brand, by an individual provider. And you do have some headings here as well, brands, regions, and care providers. So if there's an individual that knows exactly where they want the care to take place and specific brands, they can do the search. But for ease, what we're going to do is we're just going to select Durham in this particular example and click search. So when you do that, what you'll then see is, let's just focus on this section here. What you'll see here is there's a couple of drop-down sections on the left-hand side, and a lot of that information will be kind of mirroring the provider input screen where you've added your information and kind of display the information. That's complemented by some of the information that you get that you've already inputted on the capacity tracker, and some of the automated information you'll get from CQC in terms of specialisms and services. So that all kind of combines and feeds into sort of the menus on the left-hand side. So if we've done search by Durham, what you'll see here is a couple of care homes listed. You will have, let's look at St Margaret's Care Home. So their main image will be displayed at first before you kind of click onto the profile of the home. You'll have the tile here where it's got the main photo, you've got the name of the home. If you're part of a brand, if you're part of a parent organisation or a brand, you'll have that starred just beneath that. The distance, so again, it's based on Google Maps algorithm. So where is that home closest to Durham? So the ones closest will be appearing first, and then your weekly bed price from the range that will also be displayed underneath that. Now, as you can tell, there's members of the public will have different sort of different preferences in terms of what criteria they want to select. Some might just select, I want to look at homes that have got availability now. So then anyone that's got any beds vacant and available, that will then be displayed. It could be that someone might go, actually, I just want to see who's updated the information. I want the most up-to-date information, so they can select updated availability in the last 7 days, let's say. So again, it's down to each individual. Everyone's got different preferences. A lot will be probably to do with pricing and sort of distance and the care types, but there is some other sections there where people can do those selections as well. On the right hand side, you've got just we've kind of expanded some of those drop down options, so you can just see the price range. So it's similar to like booking.com when you're trying to sort of book hotels and things. It's the same sort of layout, same sort of features. Again, you've got that price range and the specialisms and stuff like that, so it's all kind of mirroring the input screen from providers. Now, assuming we clicked on Cranberry Care Home to find out more, this is the type of information that you'll see. So it'll be kind of working from top to bottom. So at the very, very top, you'll have the name of the home, and the main image, and any other images that you've uploaded, a link to a website, and any other sort of social media links that you've incorporated in your profile. You'll have the address. You have the phone number or multiple phone numbers if selected. You'll have the distance from the city centre, the weekly price from, the size of the home. So it doesn't say that's the CQC registered size of the home in terms of beds. So we won't be displaying the number of beds. That's on the tracker for health and social care teams. But if you do have any beds available, we'll say rooms available. Okay, and that's it. We won't put a number against that. And then it will have information about funding sources, etc. Towards the bottom there. Then you've got the overview of the care home. Then scrolling down, you'll have the types of care that you've kind of selected yes against in the toggle buttons. In the area that you've kind of selected, care home facilities, room facilities, and then towards the end you've got the languages that will pull through from the capacity tracker. So again, if you do any multilingual services or sign language, that will pull through. Your weekly price from and to for each bed type, whether it's long term or short stay. Funding sources, CQC rating. So if it's good or outstanding, that will be displayed with a link to the report. And then any awards, accomplishments, and anything else that you've kind of chosen to kind of include within your profile. Okay, so that's the CareFind sort of demo. I know it's quite a lot, but hopefully that kind of gives you gets you up to speed with the latest position and some of the benefits there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing, just conscious of time, and I'm happy to take on any sort of questions. So going to try and see if there's anything in the chat. So nothing in the chat. Karen, I don't know if there's any sort of questions from the floor.
Alex, we've got one question. Gonna feedback, I'm afraid. When is this going to start?
Yeah, good question. So we're launching the website on the 19th of June. So we're trying to get as many providers onboarded as possible. We do have lots of support available. And again, we'll kind of share the slides with you. So we do have a dedicated slide that kind of covers the how to do the update. So we've got videos, we've got dedicated CareFind training sessions, we've got our support centre team that are there to help you if you do get stuck, if you're unsure about something. Don't, if you get stuck, if you're unsure, just contact us. We're there to support. But essentially we're looking to launch on the 19th of June, essentially.
So just to clarify, that's for care homes. When are you looking to start for dom care?
Well, home care, yeah. We don't have a specific date just yet. So what we're looking to do is see how it goes with care homes, and then what we want to do is the similar sort of engagement work that we did with key stakeholders prior to phase 1. We want to do the same prior to phase 2. So we want to make sure that the sort of the questions, the layout, the questions on the capacity tracker are all kind of fit for purpose, add value. So we'll be working very, very closely with sort of the National Home Care Association, care provider groups, home care providers to get your feedback in terms of making the system as good as it can be. And once we've got to that position, we'll then start planning about having some dates embedded in that. So at the moment, it's quite flexible. Let's see how phase 1 goes. And then phase 2 will do same sort of engagement work. We want to make it as good as it can be. So that's may take a bit of time, but we want to make, there's no point of launching it if you're not going to do it properly. And then once we're happy with that, we'll then add a date against it. So it is in the agenda. It is in the agenda for the roadmap for this financial year, but at the moment can't give any dates.
That's lovely. Thank you. Does anybody else have? There's one more question. Richard.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Hi, Alex. Richard Devison here, Care and Sport West and Windmill Care. As a provider, we get lots of options to for people to seek places, and there are already lots of options out there.
Yeah.
So how are you going to differentiate CareFinder, and how is it going to be sold to the general public or commissioners, or to make sure it differentiates between the others that are available?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think on purpose, I've tried to not sort of compare and contrast the different platforms. Obviously, fully aware there is other platforms out there such as Automna, etc. There are some of these systems are not free, some are. So I think the fact that it's free is obviously a benefit. It's free on a permanent basis. There is that direct linkage to the capacity tracker, because at the moment it is the sort of the national vehicle for the mandated submissions, etc. So there is no sort of duplication. If you're maintaining information on the tracker, that will automatically refresh the information on CareFind. So I think that there is a benefit to that. The engagement work that's taken place within the sector has been quite extensive. There's been a lot of engagement work strategically and operationally from key players, including care provider groups and providers. I think another sort of element based on feedback is that it's really simple. We do need to appreciate there's different learning styles. Some are not sort of tech savvy, and they're still finding the uploading really simple. So it's very doable. It involves yes, no toggle buttons. So it's those sort of elements that makes that experience easier from a provider's perspective in terms of inputting, and obviously the layout of CareFind from the feedback that we've had from surveys, etc., is that they're finding it really easy. They like the layout. They're really impressed with that. So it's trying to make that experience as simple as possible. I think the other benefit, I guess, is going back to one of the points I made earlier, is to kind of display the positive elements of each and every care home, and not kind of displaying any commercially sensitive information. So again, the power is in your hands in terms of what information you want to display. We won't be displaying anything without your consent. Again, going back to pricing and things. So it's up to you how you will kind of want to manage that, and it's supposed to be a one-time input. Obviously, if you win some awards and stuff, you can add that in at a later stage. So it's supposed to be a one-time thing. So yeah, I think it's a combination of those elements. It depends on what you kind of prefer within that. And that's the idea. In terms of sort of the market, yes, there's some of the sort of platforms out there. Some are more complex than others. Some got adverts on there. There's not going to be any paid adverts on here, so no distraction. It's going to be free on a permanent basis. And the idea here is, based on some of the background research that I alluded to towards the beginning of the call, there's about 140,000 care seekers out there that need help. So the market is still there despite all these platforms being around. So again, it's also elements of, I guess this is probably digressing slightly, Richard, but some of the feedback that we've had from the NHS as well in terms of the sort of people that are medically optimized to be discharged. There is some research that's been done there from sort of Nuffield and some colleagues, and some of the intel that we've received there is, there's a lot of people that are medically optimized to be discharged, but just need a bit of support and guidance to be go into care homes from a self-funded perspective. And again, there's been a lot of delays due to that as well, because there's the lack of support and guidance in relation to that. So it's kind of those elements. It's the elements of the bigger picture that I alluded to, Care Data Matters roadmap, the technology vision, which is all about bridging gaps in information voids, digitizing data, reducing duplication and burden on providers, but also just making sure information is readily available in a timely fashion for families. So it's kind of a mixture of those elements. So I wouldn't say there's one quick answer to that.
Okay.
Thank
No
you,
worries.
Alex. Do we have any other questions for anybody? No, everybody's shaking their head. There's nothing in the chat. Alex, thank you very, very much for today. I appreciate it. We're very lucky to have Alex presenting today because I know he's moving on. And Stephen's looking in, aren't you, Stephen?
Yes.
And if you want to wave
I
and
am,
say
yes.
hello to everybody, because I believe Stephen's going to be picking up where Alex is. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
So
correct.
thank you
morning,
for
all.
that. It's coffee time now, everybody. Everybody will be pleased to know. So what we'd say is we'll be back here. Karen Morris is waiting in the wings. She's here. Well, she's not here. She's virtually. She's had car problems today, so unfortunately she's had to dial in the same as Alex. But if we have a coffee, come back about 11:45, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. I've seen Emmanuel's added something in the chat, so I'll just respond offline there. All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. Hope you've all got a nice cup of coffee and had a bicky and please stop. Hopefully our friends online are with us still, and I can see Karen waiting in the wings. Can't see anybody else, so hopefully there will be other people there that will. Somebody give me a thumbs up to say they're back and can hear us. Yes. So
I can hear you. Yeah.
virtual floor to Karen Morrison. She's going to tell us all about the new care certificate and funding. Okay, Karen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hopefully you can see my slides. Can you on the floor and online? Could somebody just let me know?
Yeah, I can see them.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Well, first of all, my apologies that I couldn't be there in person today. It's actually really disappointed myself because it's really nice to get out and about sometimes. But my car actually sounds like I'm a boy racer at the moment when I'm driving it because the exhaust is on its way out. So anyway, that's why I'm not there. So I've come along virtually to talk to you first of all a little bit about the care workforce pathway that you've no doubt all heard about, and the new care certificate qualification that's due to be launched in June, and also the new adult social care learning and development fund, which is going to be available to support all of the new learning and development that's going to be available. So
Karen, you've muted yourself.
thank you, well spotted. And if the slides don't change, can you let me know? Because I know I did a presentation the other day and rattled through for about an hour, and then somebody at the very end said, oh, the slide stayed on the same slide. Why didn't you let me know? So please do. I'm sure by now you would have heard that the government has set out a lot of reform agenda around trying to professionalise the social care workforce. So the three measures that are being rolled out is the national care career structure, which is known as the care workforce pathway, the new accredited care certificate qualification, which will be introduced again in June. And this is to really sort of support those that are already working in the industry that haven't got an accredited care certificate qualification, as well as anybody new to care that wants to be able to do that. And there's also going to be hundreds of apprenticeships and digital training. Those apprenticeships will really be around nursing and social work apprentices. But the qualifications, the new digital qualifications to support social care leaders and managers are very much ready to launch as well. And they're really to help equip leaders and managers just with the confidence and the capabilities to be able to lead the implementation and use of technology in the delivery of care. Done it again, I muted myself. So, oh, don't want to end the show. So the first phase of the care workforce pathway is actually ready for launch. What's happening is it's a new career structure, because what you'll know is that nationally in social care there isn't a kind of progression pathway at the moment. Lots of employers do their own individual learning and development strategies. Some work really well, some don't do enough. So the new national strategy is that this career structure will include the following 4 roles to start with. So it's all the people that are working directly in care, and there's 4 new roles, and within each role is this set of knowledge, behaviours, responsibilities and values that will go with those roles. And as well as that, there is a whole range of suggested learning opportunities that will go with it too. And those types of training programs, courses are going to be on things like healthcare intervention, learning disabilities, autism, dementia care, leadership, as well as providing some of the sort of standard qualifications like diplomas as well. So there's a whole range of qualifications and training to go with these specific roles. And it's ideal for really recognising your workers and what their aspirations are, instead of putting them on the pathway where, you know, they might not particularly want to do a lengthy qualification or diploma. So they can actually go off and specialise and champion in the areas that they really enjoy working in. And then that leads on to them being a specialist in that area. So phase 1 is ready to go. It's currently being piloted by a group of early adopters to see whether it's going to work. And then if that's successful, once we've done evaluation, then it will be ready to roll out nationally. And we are currently working with some expert groups and Department of Health and Social Care on phase 2, which will concentrate on these 4 roles here. And in particularly looking at how the registered manager can be more supported, possibly looking at doing a same as social workers, they get a whole year of supported learning when they first start in a social work role. It'll be similar for a registered manager to get that support as well. And then some of the enhanced complex care roles, this is more around possibly clinical assistance roles where, you know, people might not necessarily be nurses, but they can do some of those clinical tasks and they have the skills and the competency to go with that as well. So the action at the moment for employers to be looking at is really to sort of decide whether this is something that you would like to adopt. Nationally, we're hoping that as many care providers will sign up to the pathway as possible so that it really has an impact. We recommend that in advance you look at the roles within it. On the DH website, there's a whole list of the roles and the values and the skills that go with those roles. There's even some personas that have been drawn up so that you can relate it to the staff that already work within your settings. So it's deciding whether you want to look at adopting the pathway. Looking at what you currently do and your own learning and development strategies, because it might be that you're already offering quite a lot of this progression within your setting. It might be that you've got all the training that goes with it already, so you might not need to make any changes. It's also about looking at your current job roles and structures as well and seeing if they align with the pathway, or if you wanted to make changes to make them so that they do align with the pathway. And then having some conversations with your own staff about what they want, what their aspirations, their development and progression opportunities. And I think I always say that it's really important that as much as our care is very person-centred, how we support our staff needs to be person-centred as well, because not everybody wants to do the same type of training. So let's look at their own aspirations and then work around that. So in the meantime, obviously with the government continuing to build on the pathway, and when it is launched, there will be lots of resources to go alongside with it, and a digital project that will link through to all the training opportunities and the funding that goes with it as well. So that's where we're up to with the pathway. So I just wondered, before I move on to the care certificate, whether anybody wanted to ask any questions around that at all.
And there is
no feedback.
There is one question in the chat. When will phase 1 be launched?
We've been told late June, early July, so not long to go now. Everything's being launched all together. We've got the care certificate being launched in early June and the care workforce pathway towards the end of June, early July. So it's all happening in the summer.
Thank you.
Okay. So
yeah,
shall
no
I
other
move
questions.
on? Okay, I'll move on to the care certificate then. So let's just get the whole slide up. So again, in order to improve and professionalise the workforce, in partnership with the Department of Health and Social Care.
I was just wondering you mean by launch? So at the moment, we can see all the resources on the website. Does that mean that we physically sign up to it so you can see who's going to look at adopting it? Or yeah, I just wondered what launched meant, really.
Yeah, sorry, the launch really, I mean, it is ready to go. There's not a physical sign up to the process, but what will be launched is the funding that goes with the pathway as well, because at the moment that hasn't been launched, but I can explain a little bit more about that as well. And it's the same with the care certificate. You know, that will have a launch because of the funding that's attached to it. Does that make sense?
I'll say yes on her behalf. Thanks, Karen.
Okay. So yeah, this is about professionalising the workforce. The new level 2 adult social care certificate qualification has been developed. It is based on the current 15 modules or standards. So there hasn't really been an awful lot of changes to those standards, apart from they have been refreshed and updated to ensure they're current. We've added quite a lot of new emerging themes. So things like EDI, wellbeing, more around digital, as well as including updates around autism and learning disabilities. So the qualification isn't mandatory at the moment, and that's what the department have told us, you know, that they have no plans to make it mandatory at the moment. But as it's an accredited qualification, it will be assessed by qualified assessors. So it's a case of going through assessment and then quality assurance as well, which will be done through an awarding body. What else can I tell you about the care certificate? Let me just move on to the next slide because there's probably more on that one. So yeah, where we're up to now, we've had something like 14 awarding organisations put in for approval to deliver the qualification. We've approved 7 of those. So they're all your big players like City and Guilds, NCFE, Highfields is the other one. And they're all individually doing their own webinars on introducing how they expect it to be delivered. So in the meantime, the training providers are also putting together their models of delivery for it as well. So Skills for Care recommend that any employers continue with the current standards as they are at the moment. So if you've got somebody new starting and you're thinking, is it worth me doing the care certificate as it is at the moment, or shall I just wait for the new accredited one? It absolutely is worth carrying on with the old style one, because that a good training provider will map that evidence that they've already got over to the new qualification anyway, so it won't be wasted work. It would probably be a good idea for employers to start connecting with the training providers that they currently use, or looking to use others that are going to offer the care certificate qualification. As I said, it is due to launch in June, and with the launch of that will be the funding that's also attached to it as well. And with that eligibility for that funding, there is a caveat that people do need to be registered and signed up on the adult social care workforce data set. And I can talk a little bit more about that in a second, but all of the FAQs that we've produced so far are currently being they're up to date every day. Basically, we're going in with different questions that we're getting asked from providers, so they are updated frequently. So do check out those questions if you need any extra advice. Oh, can't click, go away. That's it. So with the funding for all of this, so we've got this great big list of all the funded opportunities that are going to go with the pathway as well as the care certificate qualification. Most of you will know already that we've always worked with the Workforce Development Fund, and Care and Support West for BNSSG have always dispersed that funding on behalf of Skills for Care, and it's the same in most areas. Unfortunately, Skills for Care will not be dispersing that funding from 25-26 onwards. We've been given a very small legacy pot of funding for the rest of 24. and early 25. But this is really only to support those people that started qualifications last year. So if you happen to have people or staff that are doing diplomas or anything that's taken them over a kind of a year to do, then they will still be able to draw down and get that funding through the WDF pot. Moving forward, the new fund, which is going to be managed and dispersed by the NHS BSA, is ready. It is actually ready now. It was it's for any qualifications that were achieved from April the 1st onwards this year. But what they haven't done yet is made the digital online platform available for providers to be able to claim for it. So that reimbursement will be made available through the digital online claim service, which will be the launch of everything, and it will go live in the summer of 2024. Hopefully we're expecting it for late June, early July. There are these slides, hopefully they'll be sent out, but there are links to all of this information within the slides as well.
Kieran, before you go on, please.
Can you hear me, Kieran? Yeah,
I can hear you. Yeah.
With the legacy, I just really want to say people don't come to myself for the WDF, that they have to come to Skills for Care for any funding from after the 31st of May. Just to confirm that to everybody.
Good point. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. And I think if anybody's got any kind of individual claims or processes, then do email either me or Kieran about that separately if you need to. So I just wanted to go through about how to claim and the eligibility for this new fund. So obviously the standard things, just like WDF, you do need to be providing an adult social care service, and you do need to directly employ care staff in England. And you also need to have completed the adult social care data set, which is just like it was for the WDF. Some of the newer things is that funding is also available for personal assistants now, but they obviously need to be employed by an employer. And that employer needs to have completed the WDS as well. And the good news is that this fund is also available for those workers that haven't been in the country for 3 years. And I know that that's causing problems at the moment because the kind of national skills budget doesn't finance those people that haven't been in the country for under 3 years. So the new fund will do that. So that's really good news and positive. The cap per employer has been increased to 4.5 million, which is incredible, really. And I often think, what happens if every single employer then does claim for that? You know, who's going to fund that? But I'm sure that won't happen. But it is an attractive pot of funding for every employer. So I really hope, we all hope that people are going to be able to use this. And as I said before, the fund is available from the 1st of April. So if you've got people that want to start qualifications on the list now, they can absolutely sign up, and then they'll be reimbursed for that when they've completed the qualification or the programme, and the same rules will apply. It will be certificate based, so we need to see proof of evidence, but it will be the NHS BSA that will be managing that process, and they fully intend to be carrying out an onboarding process where they will be sending out invitations to employers on how to access service and what you need to do that. We're working really closely with them at the moment to make sure that that's a really smooth transition going from the WDF to the new fund. So we're really hopeful that it should be quite a smooth process. And I just thought it'd be useful to share some of the types of learning that is going to be funded and available to you all. So particularly for managers, this has always been quite an attractive model anyway. It's the 11 CPD modules that can be done digitally. They take about 40 minutes to complete. The cost of them comes at £15 per module, but you actually claim back £55 because of the time that it takes you to do that. It's almost like they pay backfill costs for that. So that's just an example of some of the kind of introductory modules for managers. We've also got more comprehensive programmes for managers. Some of these are done face-to-face as well through our endorsed providers. So you can see you've got all the different leading options there. And then some more CPD modules like performance management, self-management skills, and understanding workplace culture. And then some of the good old ones that have been going for a few years, like Well Led and Lead to Succeed as well. So that the maximum reimbursement is what you can claim back for doing these qualifications. And then, sorry, this slide isn't very good for the eyes, but the funding for the level 2 certificate, again, is very attractive. It's £1,500 per learner. So that qualification is expected to take between 6 to 8 months to complete, because they will be doing the sort of knowledge theory side to it, and then going on to do the competency-based elements as well, where they need to be signed off in doing their work by an external or in-house assessor. I think it's important to say that also on this funded list, there is the offer of the assessment qualifications, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity for progression for your staff. If you've got somebody that would like to go on and assess this qualification, the funding's there to support that as well. And then just as an example, there's things like the level 5 commissioning certificate, as well as the usual diplomas. So the 2, the 3, the 4 and the 5 are still on those lists, and that attracts £815. The only ones that aren't going to be funded are apprenticeships. And the other criteria is that any learner that does the care certificate must be over 19, and that's purely because under 19 should be on an apprenticeship programme and getting that learning and that funding via that route. So this new fund will not fund apprenticeships. So I just thought, for those of you that are not familiar with the adult social care workforce data set, I've just included this slide because I think it's, you know, if you want to consider doing the workforce pathway and the care certificate, you want the funding, this is the route that you need to go down to start being able to claim that funding. So it's not just about claiming the funding, although that is an attractive part of doing the adult social care data set. The platform itself can also be used to store your training records and your staff records. We're also in negotiations with CQC at the moment about how they can use that information as part of the inspection process. So that you can, things like, you know, the safe element of it, they can see how many staff have been trained in safeguarding or MCA. All of that will be available with your consent, obviously. You don't have to share it, but you can put in at the beginning of the process, if you want to share the data with local authority and CQC, you can click yes or no to do that, but it can save time in the long run with the inspection. You can manage your training records, so it will give you the option to put in all the training that you do. So it's not pre-populated, it's not training that we're setting, it's your own training. And it operates an alert system. So if you've got staff that are due to expire on training, it will flash up like a red, green, amber system, a RAG system, which will alert you that people are due to expire, you know, possibly in a month or 2 months, whatever you want to set for that period. It's also a really good tool that you can put in your supervisions for the whole year, and that will flag up when they're due as well. So there are some really good platforms within it that you can use. The benchmarking function is where your data is put in and it's compared to all the other settings within your local authority area. So for example, it will give you the metrics on your pay, your sickness rates, your turnover, your qualifications. It doesn't name the settings, it is confidential, but it will say things like, you know, your sickness is say, well, your turnover is 35% compared to 70 other settings in the area, all offering the same service, which are coming in at 33%. So it tells you that your sickness is higher, and so then you can implement changes to your policies. There's lots of benefits bundles, discounts from training providers, endorsed providers, as well as our bookshop as well offers discounts. And most importantly, you know, you putting in your data is influencing change in the sector. There is no other data for adult social care. You know, when we hear on the news that there's 152,000 vacancies in social care, that comes from this data, and that only comes from you guys putting that data in. So, you know, we're really grateful, but it's really important that we have that data to be able to influence government going forward as well. So any further information about that, we've actually put together a little webinar, and it'll start from scratch about how you put your data in. It'll also give you a practical demonstration of all the different features around the platform. So that is on Tuesday, the 11th of June. There is another one in September, but if you want to get funding ready and launch ready, then we'd suggest you do the 11th of June one, so that you can then start putting in your data and getting that service up and running. And I think, yes, that is me. There again, at the end of this slide, there is a lot of the information I've talked about and the links directly to that extra information for you as well. Induction toolkit, I've put that on there because Skills for Care have also produced a new induction toolkit, which it's really about you know, what to do from day one, how to stay in touch with people, buddying, mentoring, all of that kind of guidance around it. And we're also working nationally to produce a induction toolkit as well for to go alongside the care certificate, because obviously the care certificate is, you know, you still need to do your own organisational inductions on top of the care certificate as well. But anyway, I think I've said enough. Really happy to take any questions or for people to share their ideas or their thoughts, or if they think there's any challenges to this, it would be really good to get your feedback on that. So I'll stop sharing.
There's nothing in the chat. Has anybody here got any questions? Oh. Okay. Thank you. Anybody here in the room have any questions? I think Peter's got a question.
Hi, Karen. I run a training company in the Bristol area, and we've accessed WDF via Care and Support West now, or rather our customers have for a good number of years, really. In this legacy period, how are people going to be able to kind of access, so I wonder if they'll be able to advise with customers, really, how they're going to be able to access the legacy funding during the next year via Skills for Care?
It's through direct access, so you would apply directly through Skills for Care for the funding, Peter. I mean, there is a link on our website that can take you to do that, which I'm happy to share with you. But yeah, it's all done directly now through Skills for Care. So in the same style that you would have submitted certificates to Care and Support West, you will just do the same, but you'll do it online through Skills for Care. Is that okay?
Thanks.
I just wanted to ask, the new setup of the new system, will there be any way of populating it from what we've already set up, or is it going to be that we have to populate it from scratch?
Which system are we talking about there? Is it
the new funding platform that we can access that isn't to do with Skills for Care, which is the NHS one? Do we have to set that up from scratch, or will there be some crossover able to happen?
Well, the crossover, because you would have already done your Ask WDS, is totally separate, because that's you need to be compliant with that in order to claim the funding. We're hoping that there is going to be pieces of that they will take out, but it will be a totally different system. Unfortunately, I know it means we have to get used to another system, but that digital system will only be about you putting in your claims for it. So you'll have your Ask WDS as a separate one, and then the digital claims for the funding will be a separate one. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
I think that concludes your presentation. Thank you, Kieran. There's a lot going on at the moment, isn't there? And a lot to take on board. So very useful to be able to share all the information with everybody today. So really thank you very much. I'm going to hand over now back to Richard just to finish.
I think that concludes our meeting today. So thank you very much for everyone who's been joining us online. Thanks for sticking with it. It's a long session and I hope it was interesting. We've covered quite a lot of ground. I just want to say thanks to our commercial partners who are here today, from Bemlo, Q Training, for Christie's and Peter Cheer Consulting, and all our corporate partners who support Care and Support West and what we do in supporting all the providers. And it's invaluable to make these sort of events happen. Thanks very much to Karen for coordinating all this. It's never an easy task to bring everything together. And our technical team here at Resound for bringing the mics into the right place at the right time and not too much echo. But most of all, thanks very much for attending, and we'll see you at the next event. And a reminder now about our conference, which is coming up on June the 26th. Thank you very much down at Ashton Gate, and we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible there. Thank you very much indeed. See you soon.
Thank you.